So I just poured a little bit of water into each of these small bowls containing the flower petals that I collected. So the water should be as close to boiling as you can get it. Otherwise it won't extract properly. And then you just kind of mash it around with, I'm just using a paintbrush here, but you can use really anything that's just gonna really kind of break up the petals. You can use the back of the paintbrush. So you just want to make sure that you're pressing it. And if anybody's ever used like a mortar and pestle to grind up spices, it's pretty similar to that. You just want to make sure that you're breaking it up and letting all the pigments that are in the flower petals or leaves or whatever you're using out into the water. So this process can take a little while. It's not exactly the quickest. This is probably the longest part of the process in making the pigment. So for the process of this video, I didn't do it for very long, but you should do it for as long as you kind of can. So I kind of let them sit there for maybe about 10 minutes and then came back to them. So you can leave them for longer, but I would advise trying them out probably after, about maybe 10 minutes. So yeah, just still what's called macerating. So still just macerating these flower petals. Left this in there just so you could get a sense for how long it kind of takes for each. All right, and then here I start painting. So with each of these, in this case 3, you just want to grab a little bit with your paintbrush and then kind of make some samples so that you have something to reference when you're actually doing like a little painting. So make sure you rinse your brush in between each, and then you just go and take a little bit and make like a small rectangular shape. Make it a decent enough size so you can really see kind of what color it's going to form into. All right, so those are the 3 just as they are, plainly with the water and flower petals. So now I'm taking them and I'm putting them into, or about half of it, into a different cup. So splitting them so that in total there'll now be 6 little containers with these flower liquids in them. And then I'm just going to grab some baking soda. So this actually changes the pH of the paint. So it makes it more basic, which will affect the color. So I just poured a little bit into each. For how much water I had, it's approximately, I would add like half a teaspoon to a teaspoon in each. And then just mix it together. You can see that one red flower petal really turned into a deeper kind of purpley blue. And then what I'm doing is I'm just going to do another row to show kind of how the paint has changed colors. So keeping everything in line with each other. So those orange, they're nasturtium flowers. So I'm making sure to do the one with baking soda right below the one that's just the plain flowers. And same with the other 2. I actually don't know the names of these plants because I just grabbed them from a city planter. So not entirely sure, but those red ones there made a really nice color. And now I'm just doing one final row here. So I'm going back to the original containers there that are just the water and the flower petals, and I'm making a third row. So yeah, just make sure you rinse your brush really well because the baking soda will contaminate it. And what I'm going to do now is grab a lime, or you can use I'm using a lemon. You can also use a lime or even some vinegar. And so this will make it more acidic. So you can see when I'm adding this that one kind of purple is now going this bright reddish pink. And then the nasturtium is going from this kind of like brownish color to a nice bright orange. And then the one that's kind of clear is turning into a yellow. So now you can just basically experiment and see how all of these interact with each other, because that's what I find to be the most interesting. So I'm just painting some kind of abstract organic forms, and you can watch my process here just to see kind of how I'm going to layer some of them in with each other, because basically this whole thing is kind of very much to do with chemistry, so you don't really know how the chemicals within these plants are going to react. So I'm just just putting them in close proximity with each other so that they kind of mingle, playing with adding the lemon juice to it. And you can already see that the color is really shifting. And so it's subtle. It's not like using a regular paint, but I think the slight variations within it make it really beautiful. And yeah, for anybody who's done watercolor before, you'll know that if you add salt to something, it'll create this strange granular effect where it kind of absorbs parts of the paint and kind of gives it a spotty look. So that's something that you can employ here too, is just pour on some salt in some areas that you kind of want to be dotted, and you leave it on there until it's totally dry, and then you kind of shake off the salt. So that's what I'm doing here. And just doing one more kind of like circular experiment. It had a really nice like pearly look to it. So some of these, as they got totally dry, kind of faded a little bit, and the color shifted, but I still think they're really lovely. But here, that pink is really quite vibrant. So there you have it. Basically, you can get all of those colors in there just from 3 different types of flowers that, in my case, I just picked out of a city planter while out on a walk. So there's really a whole bunch of possibilities, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.